Okay, what we're going to work on today is we're going to work on becoming curators of knowledge, and we're going to do a little bit of research. We're going to start a unit on rhetoric, classic Aristotelian rhetoric, the classic Aristotelian persuasive appeals, and the rhetorical triangle. We're going to analyze rhetoric in a number of different contexts. We'll analyze written arguments, visual arguments, etc. But what we're going to do to start the unit is, rather than me giving you access to my notes on Google Classroom or School Loop or one of the many venues that I use to share notes with you guys, I'm going to have you curate. I'm going to have you gather some information about what rhetoric is. And the tool that we're going to use to do that is on Google Documents. And we're going to use a research tool. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to our Google Documents, our drive. So if I click up here on the waffle, on my apps, I'm going to go to my drive. And I'm going to get access to all of my documents. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new document. So if I go up here and I click New, I'm going to want it to be a Google Doc. I'll click on Google Docs, and it's going to start a new document for me. Now, the first thing that I do whenever I open up a Google Doc and start a document is I title it. I name it, because file management becomes a bit of an issue with a bunch of untitled documents the more stuff you have in your Google Drive. So just for file management's sake, one thing that's always productive to do when you start a new document, title it. I'm going to title this Rhetoric. And once I have the document titled, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to type the word rhetoric. Pardon that. And I'm going to highlight that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here and I'm going to go up to Tools, and I'm going to go to Research. What's going to happen is over here on the right-hand side in this window, it's going to populate a bunch of different information, web results for rhetoric. So if you look at, I'm going to take a look at the Merriam-Webster definition of rhetoric. And there's a few different things you can do. You can preview these sites, you can insert the link, and you can cite, all of which we're going to get to. Now first, if I click Preview, right here, the preview of what's on this website, the Merriam-Webster online dictionary definition of rhetoric. Since we can't see that, I'm going to click on the actual website. And you're going to see it's going to give me various definitions of rhetoric. So here are the simple definitions of rhetoric. If you look at the first one right here, the one that I'm highlighting, okay, so again, it's language that is intended to influence people and that may not be honest or reasonable. Quite frankly, I'm not in love with that definition, but I do like the second simplified definition. I think this will give us a sort of a good starting place, where it says the art or skill of speaking or writing formally and effectively, especially as a way to persuade or influence people. So you can see, I would deem that there is valuable information as far as our understanding of rhetoric on this website, on the Merriam-Webster online dictionary website. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and I am going to go ahead and I'm going to include this in my curated information, which is all going to be housed in this new Google document that we just opened. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to Merriam-Webster. I'm going to insert this link. And when I insert the link, this has now turned this, since it's hyperlinked, into the actual link rather than just the word. And you see that if you click on that, it's going to take you right to the Merriam-Webster.com dictionary definition of rhetoric. The other thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to cite this, because we don't just gather information. We're not just cutting and pasting information without giving credit to the sources that we use. So I'm going to hover on here again, and I'm going to put cite. And once I click cite, right up here you're going to see that there's a little number 1. I'm going to try and blow this up so you guys can see it a little bit better. Okay, so everybody can see that there's that little number 1 there. Well, if you click on, if you get rid of this and you click on the actual document and you scroll down, you're going to see that that number 1 correlates to the citation down here. Now listen, I realize that footnotes are not MLA, and that's relatively blasphemous to use anything but MLA in a language arts class, but this is a really, really great tool to give us very, very quick citations, and so we can give credit to all the sources of information that we use. So we are going to cite and we're going to footnote everything on our document. So I like that. Now, we're also going to do a little bit of research on Aristotle and who he was. And if you go up here, I'm going to type in Aristotle. And let's say that I don't want just websites. Let's say I want images. Okay, so I click on these images. Well, you're going to see a ton of images pop up for Aristotle, right? Because he's, was an ancient Greek philosopher. None of those are going to be, photos, but here are some images. And we might think these are relatively interesting. We may want to include one of these images as part of our curated information. So what I would do is I was just left click, I would hold on to this, and I'm going to move this image right here. Okay. Now, one thing that you're going to notice is that this number 2 right here, okay, and again, let me blow this up a little bit so you guys can see it. Can everybody see? There you go. There's a number 2 right here. If you go down and you scroll to the bottom of the document, you're going to see that that corresponds with your second citation. So again, everything's footnoted for you as far as where you found the information. Okay? And remember, it's also important to cite images that you cut and paste and use. Everything needs to be cited. So I think we got the hang of that. So if you look up here, we've got some information on rhetoric. We've got a picture of Aristotle, whom we will be researching in just a minute. Now the other thing we can do is we can go, this everything would take you to all the information on Aristotle. If we're looking for a little bit more scholarly research on Aristotle, which we would probably be doing for a school project, we're curating information to start a unit, we would want to click on Scholar. And then if we go back up here, okay, I'm sorry, you're going to see that here are all of the sort of scholarly articles, right? Now, some of these are in Latin and things like that. But again, you would be free then to, insert these articles. You'd be free to cite as a footnote. And this is how you guys are going to curate. You're going to gather information to get us started on this unit on rhetoric. Now, the questions that you guys are going to research and answer, and I've also got them typed up and housed in Google Classroom for you, are the following. You guys are going to tell me who is Aristotle, what is the definition of rhetoric. I'd like you guys to find a couple, at least 2. I want you to figure out why and when did ancient Greeks use rhetoric, in what situations, what is the rhetorical triangle, and what are the 3 classic Aristotelian persuasive appeals. So what you guys are going to do is, with groups or partners, you guys are going to start to figure out the answers to those 5 questions, and you're going to house all of that information on a Google document using this research tool.